Great. Welcome to Leadership Speak, an advanced Toastmaster club for leadership development. We are one of the top 5 clubs globally. I am John Ojefu, your Sergeant at Arms of this meeting. At Leadership Speak, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Leadership Speak is the premier club of experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed. We are an advanced club focused primarily on leadership development in everything we do. Our Toastmaster has a virtual hand raised, so we all can immediately see who is keeping the time. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our Toastmaster of the day who will lead this meeting. Brahm Memone has been Toastmaster for 28 years with 3 distinguished Toastmaster awards. He is a leadership coach and trainer, consulting and training in large organizations as well as personal online training courses. He has a penchant for large HPL projects. Thousands of Toastmasters have attended his HPL project events since the pandemic 4 years ago. Some of his notable awards and achievements include Club Coach of the Year on District 86, founder and president of Leadership Speak, an advanced Toastmaster club with over 57 members from 27 countries. Leadership Speak attained the spot of the top club globally in 2 short years since its charter in February 2022 during the pandemic. Brahm Memone's professional coaching program, Pro Speak and Lead, is consistently rated as 5-star training program. Today, he is leading this meeting as the Toastmaster of the Day, which is a level 4 project from Pathways, managing an online meeting. With the theme, Leaders Build Trust, please help me warmly welcome our esteemed Toastmaster of the Day, founder and president of Leadership Speak, distinguished Toastmaster, Brahm Memone.
Thank you. John, thank you very much. Good morning from District 86. You're all now attending District 86. I'm in a city called Mississauga next to Toronto. It is morning. It's 9:34 a.m. here. And we have members from all over the world joining us from Nigeria, South Africa, Namibia, India, Indonesia, Caribbean, France, Switzerland, and so on. And so you will see the background. The most people have a background, which is all the flags that we have, the members from which attend over here. Now I want to speak to the guests first, because our guests are more important to us than anybody else, including, of course, our past international president, Matt Kinsey. Please welcome Matt Kinsey. Would like to acknowledge him. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a guest here, whether you've been here for the first time or you've been visiting here for a number of times, a guest book is being posted in the chat. Hannah Schmidt will be posting the guest book. Please sign into the guest book. Now, because we have so many guests, we don't normally address our guests at the beginning of the meeting. Do take notes. You are very important to us. We will provide you service with excellence. That's a promise. And do let us know in the guest book at the end or now how you feel about your experience, whether it's engaging, and if you would like to become a member, please indicate that in our guest book. And we are here to serve you. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin this meeting with Leaders Build Trust. And of course, with a keynote from our past international president, distinguished Toastmaster Matt Kinsey will be lies that leaders believe, which is the other side of the coin, right? Because then if leaders believe the lies, that's not possible to create trust. So that's why we chose the theme today about trust. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, trust always affects team. Would you agree that trust is key in building teams, in connecting with human beings, in connecting with your Toastmasters friends and colleagues in a club? So how we affect team is very, very important. And here are a few things that how we affect teams that creates trust, builds trust or not. And here are a few things, ladies and gentlemen. For example, in leadership speak, we ask all members to announce their goals for the year, how many levels they will do, why they will do those levels, what is their vision for being in the club, what is the vision outside of the club, outside in the real world. And so they can then tie in their goal for what they want to develop in the club to the real world outside, because here we are doing education so that we can take immediately what we learn here outside in the real world. So that's the emphasis. We are an advanced club, so the emphasis is not only on speaking, but on leadership as well at the same time. So each member goal is a team goal, and every team goal is a member goal. It's all interconnected. And so when members make goals, they need to follow through with those goals. And I would ask members, if you have made a goal, go that extra mile, never under-deliver, always over-deliver. And when you over-deliver, guess what? You are known to be a leader that goes the extra mile, adds value and generates value. That is tremendous amount of trust is created right there. Would you agree? And lastly, leaders don't create trust when they lowball themselves. They say, okay, I'll just do 3 speeches this year, just to lowball themselves, and then do 5 speeches and say, oh, look, I surpassed. So that's lowballing yourself is doesn't create trust either. Would you agree that lowballing is not a game to play? If you agree, put that in the chat and tell me yes or no. Let's have a conversation with the guests and members here for a little second there. Let's indulge ourselves so I can communicate with you via the chat. What do you guys think? Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Barbara, Irene, Tati, Lona, Zinga. Awesome. Wonderful. Absolutely. Lowballing is a different sort of a game, and it doesn't create trust, whether you are outside in the real world where you're negotiating something, or of course, where you are trying to provide service of excellence. Never lowball yourself. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, here's another aspect of where we create breach of trust. And these are really very direct. And the biggest hurdle to building trust is what? Guess what? How many of you are busy, right? And we always say, I'm busy, so I couldn't follow through. And that is, of course, when we say I'm busy over and over again and I couldn't follow through, guess what? How much will you be trusted? How much would you be promoted? How much would you be paid? How much would you be trusted? So I know we're all busy and there's so many distractions in the world, but we really need to begin to focus and be clear and know the direction we are going in. And that creates a huge amount of trust, ladies and gentlemen. This is the speed of trust. Consistent reasons and excuses not to follow through, another big no-no, right? When we say I'm going to deliver something, I do deliver it on time in a timely manner. And suppose I'm not able to, guess what do? We tell people way ahead of time that I'm not able to deliver this particular thing, and here's my alternatives to delivering so that we still get the project done, right? We all know this. These are very simple principles of creating trust. We're not going to go any more deeper than this for today. So when we make commitments, we follow through. Would you agree? Good. Thank you. Thank you for keeping the chat alive there, ladies and gentlemen. I love that. And thank you for indulging with me as your Toastmaster of the day. Absolutely. Now, here's one reason why you think doesn't build trust. If you can put in the chat your thinking of where you've come across other people, that have done something that may not have created trust. You don't have to mention names. and so on. So if there's any example, let's have it from you as to what that is in the chat. Right. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming to the end of this. Our code of conduct should be simply this. And if you've read the book, The Leadership Challenge, if you read the book, The Leadership Challenge, which is has been out for, I believe, 25 years, and it's in its 7th or 8th edition. The very first thing that they've been saying right from the start, and even today in the 7th edition of the book, number one is model the way, walk the talk, talk the walk. That means if we say something as leaders, we need to be exemplary, and people need to see us do what we preach. As you know, in the world today, out there in the real world, there are leaders that we look up to who say something and don't do what they said they would do, right? And that is why the trust level out there in the real world is very low for politicians and big corporations and so on, because we are not modeling the way out in the real world. And here in Toastmasters, we get to model the way, to serve our members, to serve with excellence, with integrity, right? And we are modeling the way. So that's the key thing in truly building trust for a leader. And this is Leadership Speak, so we really do model that. The other thing is, you know, a club is really a team, is a collaboration. And in a team, we need to act as if we are part of a team. And when we are part of a team, we use timely use of Easy Speak, which is our scheduling system. For those of our guests who don't know what Easy Speak is, it is our scheduling system where members tell us whether they're coming for the week or they'll be absent for the week coming up, so that they can be assigned roles. Actually, we assign roles about 2 weeks in advance. And so members need to know 2 weeks in advance whether they'll be able to come to the meetings or not, which is really another way of creating tremendous amount of trust when you know where you will be in 2 weeks' time, right? And I see the chat is busy, so that's great. And of course, if you are in Leadership Speak, you all know you have to be self-directed leader. And as a guest, when you join us, you will be taught how to become self-directed, to take really charge of your journey, to take charge of your life, and create outstanding results. Hence, we are called Leadership Speak. Ladies and gentlemen, when we connect and inspire members, we are creating trust. Let's look at the chat here. Lack of candor, on point, not delivering on commitments. When you breach confidence, model the way. Mother crab telling baby crab to walk straight. Vinod, thank you. Turn values into behaviors. There's no I in Team Lorna Fink. Thank you so much. I met Lorna Fink a couple of nights ago in Florida. I mean, she's from Florida, but I was in the Caribbean, and she's a member there. So, and building trust is when we collaborate on projects and we deliver on time. So, ladies and gentlemen, once more, for our guests, there's going to be a guest book. Last minute cancellation, Tari. Yes, absolutely. A guest book is going to be posted right now by Hannah Schmidt, I believe, in the chat. There we go. There it is in the chat. You are very, very important to us, dear guests. So what I would like you to do is sit back, sit around the fire, and observe and ask us questions in the chat. We will try and address them at the end. We will talk to you at the end, and let's get this meeting started. Our team players, our toast is going to be delivered by none other than Hannah Schmidt, distinguished Toastmaster Hannah Schmidt, who is all the way from Namibia. Over to you, Hannah Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Leadership is the relentless pursuit of truth and ceaseless creation of trust. Words by Jack Welch. Fellow Toastmasters, visitors, and dear guests. The essence of a true leader is to pursue that ceaseless creation of trust. And this trust is instilled in us. It makes us feel comfortable and provides a safe environment to speak freely receive the invaluable feedback, and grow as Toastmasters. Our meetings are conducted with the utmost professionalism, giving us the confidence to invite you, our keen guests and eager guests, and maybe you consider to join this advanced club. Leadership Speak members are inspired by their example. We have benefited from it. We work together and create a foundation with great achievements. Our enthusiasm and our belief in our leaders have shown results. Listen to this. 27 triple crowners in one Toastmasters year. And we jumped from spot number 5 in our charter year to spot number 1 in our second year of existence, 22-23, globally on the Toastmasters ranking. Our core values, integrity, respect, service, and last but not least, excellence, create a stimulating and supportive environment where honesty flourishes and team collaboration thrives. For us, it is a commitment, no, a responsibility to uphold this. And we owe our gratitude to this club, Leadership Speak. Our dynamic leaders listen with empathy when they speak. They act with devotion, lead by example, and empower us to reach our fullest potential, to become better self-directed leaders, building trust in other members. Please unmute yourself, open your videos. As we raise our glasses to these remarkable leaders, they do not lead us with their titles. They lead us with their hearts, and they build the trust. Here's to leaders build trust. Here's to leaders
build trust.
Leaders build trust.
Cheers.
Mr. Toastmaster.
Salud.
And cheers. Leaders build trust. Absolutely they do, right? Especially at Leadership Speak, we emphasize on all the things that I talked about previously. Now, every club, every study group, that's what we are. We are a study group studying communication and leadership, has a timer. In fact, every meeting should have a timer out in the real world as well, in corporations especially. And we have a timer today. And that is John Guebre. John, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Baron. My name is Terence Guebre, and I will be your timer in this meeting. As timer, I will time according to the agenda of the meeting. Thank you, and back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you. Of course, the Toastmaster of the Day is Brahm Memone today. Is in the house. So, ladies and gentlemen, we always have a grammarian, and our grammarian is going to tell us what they are going to do. Paramjit Singh.
Hello, everyone. As grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to all the speakers, listening them carefully of their language use. I'll take note of good words uses as well as improper language. Of course, as grammarian, it's also my duty to introduce the word of the day. And the word of the day today is credence, meaning belief in or acceptance of something as true. Synonyms: acceptance, belief, faith, trust, confidence, and reliance. And few examples. A true leader earns credence through integrity and decisive actions. Toastmasters fosters leadership by instilling Credence in your communication and leadership style. I will give my grammarian report when called upon at the end of the meeting. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Paramjit, thank you very much. There's much credence happening in this meeting today. Ladies and gentlemen, please note the word of the day is credence. And please lend your hand to the word of the day as you speak or whenever you speak. Let's see if we can break a record today. Let's be in the Guinness Book of Records. That's a challenge for you team members here. Let's go for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are at that place where we all know about how leaders build trust. And we're going to go into our main menu. The agenda has been posted in the chat. Please have a look. If you arrived later, it'll be posted again at some point in time. Most of you have the agenda from the chat. Every meeting of Leadership Speak has a 20-minute presentation, usually done by a member of the club, and it's around leadership principles. But today, we are very fortunate. We're very fortunate with a keynote from our distinguished Toastmaster, Matt Kinsey. If you can please spotlight, as usual, Mr. Zoom Master. Welcome, Matt. Now, we have an evaluator for Matt, and he has some, of course, criteria. He doesn't have the criteria from Pathways at the moment. So we will not have the evaluator come here and tell us what that criteria is, but we will find that out as when he is doing the evaluation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever been given leadership advice that turned out wrong? Perhaps it was the wrong advice, or perhaps the advice was based on a lie to begin with. Our speaker today has been a community and business leader for more than 30 years. I wonder how old is Matt Kinsey? Doesn't look that old. Over that time, he has received numerous pieces of well-intentioned advice. However, often that advice turned out to be a lie that leaders believe, and I totally understand where he's coming from because I've seen his post on LinkedIn regarding that. So I'm sure we are going to be in store for something, but this presentation is part of a keynote that he's developing, so we are getting a sneak preview of the keynote. Please welcome our past international president of Toastmasters, distinguished Toastmaster Matt Kinsey. Lies that leaders believe, DTM Matt Kinsey.
Thank you, Brahm. Brahm asked how old I am. I'll just say I'm a grandfather. And I have a 9-year-old and 7-year-old grandson. And a couple of years ago, I was reading them stories. How many of you have gotten an opportunity to read grandchildren or your children's stories? It's a great time. They're so enthralled with the story. And we were reading Aesop's Fables. Now, in Western society, Aesop's Fables forms a foundation. For those who are not familiar with Aesop's Fables, Aesop was a Greek philosopher, and he wrote a bunch of short stories with morals of the story. And one of the most well-known is The Tortoise and the Hare. Now, in the story of The Tortoise and the hare, or a rabbit, was bragging about how fast he was. And the tortoise thought he could beat him. So they set up a race. Now, that sounds crazy, right? A little tortoise, very slow animal, racing against a hare. But they took off in the race, and as expected, the hare got way ahead, and he decided to take a rest. And as he rested, the tortoise kept plodding along. He eventually passed the hare, and all of a sudden the hare woke up and he realized that the tortoise was about to cross the finish line. He took off running really fast, and he lost the race. And according to Aesop, the moral of that story is that slow and steady wins the race. Now, when I said that, my grandson looked at me, the older one looked at me and goes, well, I'm slow and steady and I never win a race. And I was like, you know, there's something here. I need to explore it. And I thought back to my years of running cross country in high school. So between my freshman and sophomore years of high school, I ran every single day, 7 days a week, and I would go out on long runs. And I was one of the top 2 or 3 in my class as a freshman. And I came back that summer and everybody on the team was beating me. I was dead last. And I'm like, what's going on here? And my coach grabs me and goes, Matt, what's going on? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, yeah, you clearly you didn't run this summer. I'm like, I ran every day. He goes, what do you mean you ran every day? He goes, what did you do? I said, well, I ran. I went and ran every day. He goes, what did you do specifically? I said, well, I went and I ran. I did a lot of long, slow runs. And he looked at me and goes, well, we need a different strategy. What I've realized in business, especially in today's business, is slow and steady doesn't win the race unless fast gives up. Think about that. Think about the pace of change in the world today. Things have never changed faster than they change today, and they will never change slower in the future. Computing has Moore's law, which says that the speed of computers doubles every 18 months, and it's closer to 2 years now, but for a long time it was about every 12 to 13 months. Computers keep getting faster. Artificial intelligence, you take a look at what has happened with ChatGPT. ChatGPT used to have struggle with stuff. I'm having it help me write my book right now. It's not writing my book, but it's helping me do the research. It's helping me find the references for me to go do further reading, saving me tons of time. I'm probably going to be able to create a book in a few months that normally would have taken over a year to do because of that. Slow and steady, it does have its place. Okay. But fast gives up. So what are the other lies that are out there? I heard one this morning, actually, and I'll be digging into it more. There is no I in team. Now, there is no I in team is an important leadership aspect some of the time. But I remember working on a project and we were having some challenges. And one of our team members looked at me and he said, well, I just really disagree. And I was like, well, there's no I in team. And he goes, well, I am on this team. When you think that there's no I in team, it's really about the mission. We need the mission of the team, and your individual mission is secondary to the mission of the team. But when you look at it, there are a bunch of I's in teams. And as leaders, we need to acknowledge each individual's contributions, their talents, and their skills, and how they've contributed to the overall success of the team. And that includes the leader. Many leaders feel that they can't show weakness or vulnerability as a leader. Have you ever felt that way? I know I have. Not necessarily you had to have the answers, but you always had to be in control. Everything had to be good. You had to be rock steady. Now, I work in cybersecurity, and I can tell you when I worked in a large company, Office Depot at their corporate headquarters, 500 people in the IT department. And the two scariest things in IT to see is one is a security guard running across the floor, and the other one's a cybersecurity person running across the floor. Okay, we were taught don't run. Okay, that we learn how to walk quickly, but if you're not next to us, you can't really tell how fast we're walking. Some of you guys may know that little trick of how to stride very quickly without making it look like you're running. But I got a call from a district leader during the height of the pandemic. It was probably August or September of 2020 when everything was locked down. And we had a call and she's like, Matt, I'm really struggling. I said, why? What's going on? She goes, I'm a people person. How many of you felt like that during the pandemic? You felt isolated. Especially, she was a single woman. She lived in an apartment by herself. All she had was Zoom to reach out to people, and she needed to be around people. And as great as Zoom is and creates opportunities like this club here, what it doesn't do is it doesn't create that intimacy of feeling and emotion and energy that we need, that many of us need, especially those who are extroverted. And she went over what some of those struggles were. And if you were like that, you probably know what some of those. She was feeling isolated, depressed. She was really struggling. And then she said something, and she looked at me, she goes, "But I can't let my team see that." And I told her she was wrong. I said, "No, you need to share that with your team. Not in a therapy session. Okay, your team are not your therapists, and you can't be wallowing in that condition." But by the end of the conversation, she reluctantly agreed to share with her team that she was struggling, that this isolation was causing some challenges for her. She shared them at a high level, and she agreed that she would do that. I got a call from her a few weeks later, which I wasn't expecting. And she called me, and she was in a really good spot. And I was like, "What's going on?" She goes, "You know, Matt, I took your advice. And I was so scared of showing vulnerability to my team. And here's what happened. I got calls from 15 people after I shared this, thanking me for sharing it and telling them it made them feel that they were okay. Because if I, as a team leader, was struggling, it would make sense that they were struggling with these same issues. This sense of vulnerability in leadership is so critical. And so many leaders, especially if you come from a traditional or a more traditional command and control environment or a military type environment, where the leaders have to exhibit strength and confidence. And we're even seeing that in political races about, who's strong and lacking vulnerability. It creates a barrier between you and your team. I really recommend the book, Authentic Leadership. It's a great book, and it talks about being who you are and saying, "You know what? I'm okay with this. I'm really good at this, or I'm pretty good at this." There's always somebody better. Let's be honest. I mean, there's no Olympics for leadership, so there's no gold medal for leadership, but there's always somebody better. I mean, there's only one best leader in the world, and chances are that I'm not it, and chances are you're not it. There's somebody out there, so that we can always learn, we can always get better. But I'm pretty good at leading. But there's other areas where I'm not as strong, and I need to be able to acknowledge that. Which leads me into one of my favorite leadership lies. Don't ask your team to do something you want to do yourself. How many of you have ever heard that? Now that comes from the military as well. Because this comes from the concept of, you're leading a group of people in a war situation or in a military operation. And you should not be asking people on your team to go take a risk that you want to take a risk. And in that sense, it makes a lot of sense. But there's a downside to it. The downside, for your consideration, is that if you're only asking people to do what you would do, you're limiting your team to do what only you can do. You're not acknowledging the individual talents and skills of those in your team. There are people, look, I'm very good at reading a financial spreadsheet and knowing what questions to ask, all right? But I'm not good at reading creating a financial spreadsheet and being prepared to answer other people's questions about that financial spreadsheet. They're different skill sets. And if I were to try to take that role on in my team, I'm going to diminish the impact of our team. There are people who bring perspectives. On the board of directors for 7 of the last 8 years at Toastmasters, I've worked with amazing people from around the world who have different perspectives from me. It could be because they live in a different part of the world. It could be because they've lived in a similar part of the world, but they just have different life experiences. People who grew up speaking different languages, people who grew up in different cultures, different religious and ethical backgrounds, different educational experiences, different careers, and all of that brings brought to the richness of the board of directors, helped us in our decision making. And there were many times where I went into a meeting with an item on the agenda, said, you know what, I think this is the right answer. And then hearing the questions and perspectives of people on the team, I realized that there was a different answer that may be more effective, and generally was. It's something that's really important, is to acknowledge that. There are so many leadership lessons. One of my favorite, well, this is one. If you ever heard stay in your lane. Now, stay in your lane comes, actually, it started with driving. So if you have a driver's license, except in some parts of the world, I have learned, it's really important that you stay in your lane. While I was traveling with the board, I got the opportunity to go to Pakistan. And Pakistan, apparently, and some parts of the Caribbean as well, when I was in Haiti, it was similar. Traffic lanes appear to be suggestions. All right, you know, there's 4 lanes and there's 6 cars across the way. And I was finally asking somebody, like, what are the rules of the road here? And they said, whoever is in front has the right of way, which is completely different from the way I learned to drive. You know, there's specific rules of the road in the US and Canada and other parts of the world, but it works for them because they know what those rules are. Stay in your lane came from that, about staying in your lane. And then it got adopted in the African-American community in the 70s, especially during the height of the civil rights movement. It got adopted as a way to tell people that they didn't understand what they were talking about. And so it became a dismissive way to talk to people, you know, stay in your lane. You know, that's not something you should be worrying about. Many leaders have heard this. I worked with someone on the board who would often say, stay in your lane. I like to look at leadership a little different. I look at the team a little different. Baseball, for those of you familiar with the sport of baseball, and you could put other sports in here too. Any team sport where multiple people are on the field at the same time, everybody has a role. Okay, so in baseball, you've got first base, second base, shortstop, all the way around, and the first baseman is supposed to cover first base and that area around first base. But there are times in the game, based on what's going on in the game, where the first baseman has to move away from first base, where the pitcher has to go up and back up the catcher, where the shortstop will move over and play second base because of the tendencies of the hitter to hit to a different part of the field. Now, these rules are known, they're discussed, they're short-term, they're agreed upon in advance. And so I think that's a much better analogy that we work through in terms of staying in your lane. Because what staying in your lane does, and I heard this when we were talking about this with district leaders, and actually, Brahm, you probably heard this conversation when you came to district leader training about stay in your lane. Well, the conversation we heard from other district leaders after that was, well, that's my job, Mr. District Director. You can't tell me what to do. Now, I know Tony's a past district director here. Rozy's a past district director here. That doesn't work, does it? The district director is ultimately responsible for what happens in the district. And when you focus on staying in your lane, you forget the part that it's in connection with the team. You know, people would come to me all the time and say, well, Matt, you know, you're president, you're in charge. No, I'm not in charge. I was in charge of one thing, the agenda. That was it. That was the only thing I was in charge of, was the agenda. I have no control over the outcome. So staying in your lane, while it sounds good, creates opportunities. Now, I know we've got several minutes here left. So what I would love to hear, and this is going to be an open conversation intentionally, what other leadership lies have you heard? Somebody wants to raise their hand, go ahead, please feel free to raise your hand. But what leadership lies have you heard? Brahm.
This is the way we've always done things.
Oh, this is the way we've always done
That really
things.
burns me.
Yeah, so when I think about that, you know, the world has changed. The way I often hear this is, well, we've tried that before. That's another option, well, we tried that before. Well, no, we didn't, because we are a different team now. We have a different set of experiences. We have a different set of knowledge and expertise now. And just because it didn't work before doesn't mean it will work now. I see Tony's hand up.
Often I hear the expression, there's a policy for that, meaning, and I really hate that.
So why does that bother you?
Well, because quite often there is not a policy for that. That is, and also it's restrictive. Like, oh no, you can't think out of the box. Oh no, I don't like that. People who say that are not listening to what could be. So there is and what there could be is a differential.
So Tony, one of the things I learned, I was working with somebody in another organization who very rules-based, okay? That's just his personality. And so he would come and say, well, what's the policy on this? And if I would ask him and answer that, the conversation immediately stopped. And so what I started asking him instead is, why are you asking? And then I could get the rest of the story. And then I could say, okay, well, here's what the policy says. Here's how we implement that policy. All right, I see, and this will be the last one. I see Jessica.
Hi, Matt. One of the ones that I have heard over the time is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think it's just an idea of people being lazy to innovate.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I hadn't come up with that one yet, but because I'm an engineer, so I tend to believe if it's not broke, don't fix it. But that doesn't mean we can't make something better. But I think that concept comes from, change. Change is hard for people. And sometimes there's things that aren't worth changing. But I'll definitely dig into that one some more because I hadn't come up with that one. And I said that was going to be the last one, but that was kind of short. So I'm going to go to Dinesh and then I'm going to wrap up.
Thank you, Matt, for your very inspiring presentation. One lies that I've heard from everyone is with age comes the experience and the knowledge. And I will say this respectfully, my 16-year-old son is much more smarter than what I am today.
Well, yeah, it's certainly more respectful for you to say that than for him to say that.
So many people, when they reach a certain age, they don't appreciate the knowledge that the younger generation, as you rightly said, we are changing much faster. So
I think it comes down to life experience. And one of the members on our board, she's in her mid-30s. She just came off the board with me. Her life experience she's gone through so many things that the wisdom she's gained from there, it's not age related, it's experience related. I'm going to invite you, I'm going to put it in my chat. If you have other leadership lies, or if you'd like to be interviewed to be a part of the book I'm working on leadership lies, please contact me at my email address. I'll put that in the chat. But think about, the point here is to think about those lessons you've learned and look for the dark side. Look for the side of it that when you peel back, you go, oh, there's a problem in here. And I think if you do that, you'll be less susceptible to the leadership lies. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Lies that leaders believe is a very, very important one. In Leadership Speak, we actually ask all of our members what their strengths are, what their leadership style is, what their communication style is, so they know what their talents are, what they're really good at, and where they should really hone in on, and the direction that they should go in. And we offer them coaching on that, so they actually know, so that they don't tell themselves lies about where they're headed and what they should be speaking about in Toastmasters Club to practice so they can take it outside in the real world. Great points, Matt. I mean, I learned quite a lot. I took a lot of stories, the tortoise and the hare, the pace of change, is so fast these days. For example, there's no I in the team. having a sense of vulnerability. Don't ask your team what you can do yourself. Stay in your lane. And of course, a lot of the more status quo type of answers from the audiences as well. And I know I go to a lot of Toastmasters clubs that are sort of shrinking. I get called all over the world to speak to clubs that are in trouble. And most of the time they are following an assumed rule that is not a rule, I believe. And there's a lot of lies that we've ended up telling ourselves sometimes in clubs that are not doing well. And I go and speak to them, and I find that we try to dispel as much as we can. And we exemplify that in Leadership Speak by doing projects that are very way out of the box. Thank you, Matt, for being here. And I see possibly a podcast with you in the near future to sort of go more deeper into your subject here, and you might get a lot of audience interaction as well in a podcast down the road. So that's possible. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now we move on to our 4 speakers who will be speaking from the pathways. And let me see if I can get my, there we go. So I'm back in my presentation, and oops, went too fast there. Let's see if we can bring back speaker number 1, Jessica Mathabatha. Jessica, please come over. Thank you. How are you doing today, Jessica? How are you? You're muted, Jessica.
I'm doing great, thanks, Brahm.
Good, awesome. Good to see you all the way from Northern Ireland. And her evaluator today is going to be, and I have to look at my...
I'm here, bro.
Daniel Omondi, I believe, is...
Yes,
there.
I'm here.
Please tell us what Jessica is going to be doing today. What's her objective?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, Brahm. Today we have the pleasure of evaluating Jessica, and she'll be pursuing a path in Persuasive Influence, Level 2. The purpose, which is writing a speech with a purpose. The purpose of this project is to learn or review basic methods of writing speeches with a defined purpose and to present a well-organized speech on any topic. The member, Jessica, will present a well-organized, well-delivered speech. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style she chooses. The speech content and style should work well together. She has 5 to 7 minutes to present her speech. Back to you, Brahm.
Dan, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, speaker 1, Jessica Mathabatha, Embracing the Climb. We're here, Embracing the Climb, Jessica Mathabatha.
Imagine standing at the base of one of the world's most iconic wonders, the Machu Picchu in Peru. Imagine that excitement and the thrill of what Leya had. Imagine knowing that that journey is not only going to be about your physical strength, but it's about testing your human resilience. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, a few years ago, I thought it was such a brilliant idea to celebrate my birthday by trekking up the Inca Trail in Peru. It seemed like a fantastic idea when I was doing it. But oh my God, when we got to the base of the mountain and looked up and was faced with the task ahead of us, things felt a little bit different at that point. But what kept us going was that what we knew was that climb was not only about reaching the summit, but it was about all the lessons that we're going to learn when we finish and throughout that journey. And today I'm going to share with you 3 lessons that I learned when I was going through the journey of going up the Inca Trail. Lesson number 1, embrace your endurance, embrace the climb, embrace the strength. When we took up the challenge of trekking up the Inca Trail, we knew that it wasn't going to be an easy task. With every step came pain. Legs were aching. Knees were knocking. Chafing was happening. It was painful. And sometimes my spirit wavered. But I had to dig deep with the knowledge that it wasn't only about testing my physical strength, but it was about my mental resilience. I had to look back at where the journey started and appreciate where we're going. And that lesson took me because in life throws at us all sorts of things. And as we navigate through life, it's not only about physical strength that we have to depend on, but our mental agility as well. And lesson number 2, teamwork is crucial. Let me share with you a secret. Lean forward, let me tell you. Taking up a formidable mountain like the Machu Picchu is not a solo excursion. It was never, ever, ever meant to be a solo excursion. The camaraderie amongst the rest of the team, even those other team members from other clubs, it was all the support team. Everybody brought in their strength and we all worked together as a unit. I remember when we were just almost about to reach the summit, and the summit is called the Dead Woman's Pass. I don't know what was going on in my head, whether was it the altitude sickness kicking in, or was it the pain, or was it fatigue that was talking? But my mouth mouthed those words. I reached out to our guide and I said, so, you know that Dead Woman Pass? On average, how many women die in a year? He looked at me, appreciating that I was probably nervous, tired, and everything. And in his dry, very dry sense of humor, he looked at me and said, so far, none. But Jessica, you were here this year, so I did not appreciate the humor at that point, because for me, it was real. It was the Dead Woman's Pass, and I was going there, and I'm a woman. So my mind was taking me in all sorts of directions. And we carried forward. So the lesson there was, you know what, you have to rely and learn to lean on other people, because together we were all helping and support each other. Lesson number 3, learn patience. When we first took up the journey, one of the things that they told us was, rushing is not an option. Small step, slow movement. And that's what we did. We had to learn to stop and breathe. Move slowly, stop and breathe. Because life has a way of making us slow down. And we have to stop and breathe and appreciate where we're coming from and where we're going. And as we reach atop the mountain, with the beautiful ancient ruins beneath us, I was overwhelmed with a sense of accomplishment and clarity, because what I learned throughout was climbing that mountain was not only about my physical strength, but I had to learn to lean on other people. I had to learn to be patient with myself and be patient with others. And when we reached the summit, I also learned that it wasn't all about the summit, but transformation happened throughout the journey. And ladies and gentlemen, as we navigate through life, we have to remember to embrace the climb, because our transformation happens throughout the journey. Mr. Toastmaster.
Jessica, thank you. What did I get from this? I got a lot from this information from the climb. It is all about mental resilience. It's all a mindset. Sometimes we are faced with challenges and we need to change what's in here between our 2 ears. Stop and breathe, be patient. Transformation happens through the journey by learning to climb. What an amazing lesson. Thank you, Jessica. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Mamadou Guebre from Nigeria. Mamadou, how are you doing today?
Hello, Brahm. Hello, everyone. Doing great. Thank you very much. And
Good
you?
to see you again, my friend. And your evaluator today is Aswathy Rajan. And she'll tell us what your objectives are. Aswathy, how are you doing? And how are you as a Club Growth Director? Let me put you on the spot. Good to have you. Good to have you.
Same here. Good to be back here. And today I'm really excited to evaluate Toastmaster Mamadou. And he's going to present the speech based on the project Writing a Speech with Purpose. And the purpose of this project is to learn or review basic methods for writing a speech with a defined purpose and to present a well-organized speech on any topic. So looking forward to hear a fantastic speech from you, Mamadou. All the best, and back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you. Now, I know this may not be a place to say this, but I really appreciate Aswathy for the reason being that this club is what it is in terms of membership growth, because what she supports me in those podcasts where we get a lot of guests coming in as members, she is one of the key drivers, and I need to acknowledge that here. Thank you, Aswathy. Now, Mamadou Guebre, are you ready, my friend?
Yes, I am.
Mamadou Guebre, the point of no return. I'm looking forward to it. The point of no return, Mamadou Guebre. Over to you.
Thank you. Who has ever changed profession here? Brilliant. Thank you. You are our heroes, actually. And I guess you understood by changing profession is not changing job, but actually profession. And it is not only possible, but it is a necessity today to change profession and not only job, and be ready to change profession. And by changing profession again, I mean like going from being a lawyer to being an accountant, or from being an architect to being a tailor or a business consultant or a business coach like our President Brahm. And it is said that each individual in their lifetime will change job or change his job even 3 to 5 times in their lifetime. And it's even becoming not only a necessity, but we have to do it. And we have to prepare, not only be flexible and adapt. And leadership expert John Maxwell will say that in life, you are either preparing or repairing. You are either preparing or repairing. So when you think of everything happening in your life, in your community, are you, like you as an individual and you as a community, preparing or just waiting to repair? If you are not prepared, you will have to repair. Well, not always, because you might reach a point of no return, a dead end where you can't even repair. And that was one of the experiences I had back in 2017 on a flight from Dakar in Africa, Senegal to New York. We boarded the flight early in the morning, and you know that if you know Africa and you know the US, you know that we have a long flight over the ocean. And 3 hours, about 3 hours, while in the skies, we just heard a noise. It's like something cracked, and the aircraft started shaking. And we started just looking at each other and started praying. Everyone started praying, and thank God there was internet. We had network in the plane. So I started chatting, telling family members, telling friends, and asking for prayer. And looking down, we could see that the aircraft was going down and going down, and the pace was becoming slower and slower. And we kept praying. At some point, the captain, the pilot, made an announcement telling us that he had no choice but to go back to the point of departure, meaning in Dakar. And then we started going back, and he was going slowly, at a slow and terrifying pace. And by his grace, we finally touched down back in Dakar. And then what we've been told when we landed back in Dakar was that the pilot was so wise that he made a decision to go back, because over the Atlantic, he could have reached the point of no return, where he wouldn't have any choice but to sink in the ocean, why he would not be able to go back or continue to New York. And that happens to most of us humans. We are indecisive, we don't decide, we don't prepare, and then we reach a dead end, a point of no return, because we haven't prepared enough, because we fooled ourselves, because we are not self-directed, we are waiting for someone to tell us what to do. And the word today, and mostly tomorrow, will be the word of those who are self-directed, who can prepare and who can decide to act. And mostly, profession is what keeps the bread on the table, to be able to shift, to pivot, to adapt, and mostly to prepare, because you will not be always be in a position to repair. And no one wants to reach that point of no return. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mamadou. How many professions have I had? Perhaps over half a dozen. And I really mean profession, not jobs, professions. Teacher, meteorologist, hydrometeorologist, accountant, chartered accountant, entrepreneur, and so on, and then consultant, and now a coach, and it's endless. And even now, what I did as a coach 10 years, 12 years ago, and what I'm doing now is totally different. Now you have to be agile, fast, not a tortoise. You got to be the hare. Mamadou, thank you very much for that wonderful speech about telling us about how change occurs in our lives. Our next speaker is going to be Leya Musunga, and she is the Vice President of Membership in Leadership Speak. Speaker 3. Leya, how are you?
I am great.
Now, the last time you were here, you had read 82 books. Has that climbed? How many books have you read so far this now?
I'm on 85. I'm
3
still
books
going
in,
slow.
no, that's like last week, I believe, right? Or 2 weeks ago. So you 3 more books already. And her target is what, 100 and something for the year end?
150.
Whoa. Whoa, a fountain of knowledge. And her evaluator today is going to be, Mr. Zoom Master, help me here, Bindu Thakapan. Bindu, how are you doing? All the way from Chennai.
Doing fine.
And
Doing
you know
fine,
what? Bindu is a neurologist, by the way. So be careful around her, okay? Over to you, Bindu.
Thank you, Brahm. Leya Musunga. Her project is from the pathway innovative planning, evaluation, and feedback. The purpose of a speech or project is for her to present a speech on any topic, receive that feedback, and apply that feedback to the second speech. So this is her second speech, and this is for the member to demonstrate that she has applied that feedback from the first speech. Leya Musunga, all the best. Looking forward for an amazing speech. Over to you, Brahm.
Thank you. Leya Musunga, the purple crayon. The purple crayon, Leya Musunga.
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Earlier this year, I read a children's book called The Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. In the book, there's a character called Harold, who's a 4-year-old boy. And he has a vivid imagination. He uses his purple crayon to visualize all that he wants to come to being by drawing it into being. One day, he wants to take a moonlight walk, so he draws the moon. He then gets hungry and draws an apple tree. To protect his apple tree, he draws a mighty dragon. And when he gets tired, he draws a house and a bed so he can go to sleep. That story reminded me of the importance of having a vision. A vision provides you with something to look forward to. It helps you to focus your goals. Who here remembers attending that first Toastmasters meeting? I was invited by one of my work colleagues. And after seeing her present her speech, I could see that this would be a place that could help me become a better speaker, as I had been struggling to articulate my thoughts whenever I had to stand up to present a speech. So my vision was to become a better speaker from that point. I attended as many Toastmasters meetings as I could because it was during the time of the lockdown. I got to learn from various people that evaluated me. And slowly but surely, I started improving. Because the one thing I realized about the Toastmasters environment is that it's self-paced and it's up to you. If you want to be a better speaker, you have to do it. Unfortunately, no one can do it for you. I then realized that when you join Toastmasters, you may join it for one reason, but afterwards you stay for another. The door was opened to the leadership aspect of Toastmaster. Another vision was birthed. I wanted to work on being a better leader. So when I was called upon to serve a role in my club, I quickly raised my hand, and I was the Vice President of Public Relations. Later on, I was asked if I could take on the role of Area Director. I eventually moved on to Division Director, and I'm currently serving as the Logistic Manager in my district, District 74. That is the power of a vision. Steve Jobs once said, if you are working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision will pull you. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, what vision is pulling you? Whether in your public speaking, maybe your leadership, maybe it's with work or schooling, or maybe with your family. What are you doing to ensure that that comes to pass? I'd like to challenge you, like what I saw from Harold and his purple crayon, that indeed you may take up your own purple crayon and start to draw what it is that you would like to come to pass. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day.
Wow. I will leave it to the evaluator, but I was going to say, what a brilliant way of coming back to the beginning. Let me not put words in your evaluator's head over there. Mr. Evaluator, please. Okay, don't listen to me. I get carried away at times, but what a wonderful speech. And I loved, of course, Steve Jobs, what he said about the vision pulling. If the vision is strong enough, you become self-directed and it pulls you, right? Absolutely, I totally believe in that. I live it every day. We encourage our members to do the same here. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be none other than my very good friend, Rozy Rana. And I'm really thankful that she is here today, despite some personal setbacks happening very recently. So, Rozy, I do appreciate that you are here today and doing this role for us. Our evaluator today is going to be, and oh, by the way, Rozy is a past district director, Schmidt is distinguished district director, started actually founder of 114, District 114, and she's being evaluated by past district governor from District 86, Tony Bresham. Tony.
Hello. This is exciting because Rozy is giving her icebreaker on the dynamic leadership pathway, and I'll briefly describe that. And I just finished it myself. The dynamic leadership, two key words, dynamic leadership, is a pathway that helps build skills as a strategic leader. And there's a few things that Rozy will be developing, well, reinforcing along this pathway as she journeys through it. Two types of skills, leadership skills and communication skills. Also conflict handling modes, strategic changes in organizations, and also speaking, like public speaking and interpersonal speaking. Now, as an evaluator, for me to have credence as an evaluator, I have to evaluate purpose, the messaging, the relevance to the audience, and of course, delivery. Now, as an audience, you can judge. Ask yourself one question when Rozy gives this presentation. How did it make you feel? How did it make you feel? So therefore, let's sit back and enjoy a proven dynamic leader give her icebreaker on dynamic leadership. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Looks like that was an amazing collaboration between you and the evaluator beforehand. Wonderful. Look forward to it. Rozy Rana, born to gift love, born to gift love. Rozy, distinguished Toastmaster, Rozy Rana.
Musunga is a village in central Kenya and is famous for three things. One, it has fertile grounds for growing delicious coffee. Two, it has a glorious view of Mount Kenya. And three, it is the birthplace of the great Rozy Rana. Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen. My parents planned to have 3 children. I was the 4th. A lie that many leaders do believe is that unplanned means unwanted. I was far from unwanted. On the contrary, in Musunga, the culture of the Agikuyu who live there is that more children means more prosperity. The entire village celebrated my birth, and I got named Rosmina, Gift of Love. This name has shaped the person that I have become over the years. A lie that many leaders say to themselves is that they earn credence through displaying their superpower. Truth is, you earn credence more by shining the light on other people's superpowers. You become a stronger leader and earn their trust when you gift love to them. As a child, I worked in my father's duka, or shop. Child labor, you may say. Sadly, it's too late to sue them now. But this labor taught me many lessons and has shaped the person I've become. In fact, the 3 lessons I can think of are: 1, mental maths, because we dealt in cash, not in plastic. 2, I built my business acumen there. And 3, because we were selling newspapers, I learned to stay current with the news. Now, often I hear people say that they don't like to watch the news because the news is always bad. My take on that is that it is important to be relevant so that you can navigate this complex world by forming good judgments. At the tender age of 11, I moved to the city for boarding school, Kenya High School, because there were no decent schools back in the village. This for me was like moving from Timbuktu to New York. But in no time, my excitement turned into anxiety because the city folk felt strange. I ate with my hands. They ate with silverware. I spoke loudly. They spoke softly. I wore large, flary midi-skirts, and they wore dainty, sophisticated like miniskirts. A lie I began to believe was that we village folk are rural and inferior to the city folk. Truth is, imposter syndrome became my companion for many years thereafter. Fellow Toastmasters, I hail from a land which produces some of the finest coffee in the world, but we grew up drinking tea. As a British colony, coffee was only for export. I got introduced to this heavenly brew called coffee 32 years ago when I joined Dormans. Are you calculating my age? Please have some respect there because a woman's age is secret. Suffice it to say that her best years are between 39 and 40. At Dormans, I started as a personal assistant to the managing director and gradually climbed up the ranks. I became head of finance and the chief financial officer before my current role as managing director. Here, I delight everyone's taste buds with this wonderful brew. with this beautiful brand called Dormans. I am one of those weirdos who looks forward to Monday mornings because I have a super team and the coffee keeps us alert and innovative. Together with this team, we have been resilient, navigated tough times, introduced many innovative products, and made Dormans a trusted household brand. I may have done okay, but I got married in 1996, and my most prized possession came in 1997, our son, Manza. It is said that you get transformed by the people that come through your life, by books you read, perhaps, but definitely by Toastmasters. I joined Toastmasters in 2005. At that time, Kenya had only 2 clubs in the country. Just as a sponge soaks up every drop of water, I embraced every lesson that I could. I was so excited that I saved up, gave away all my free time and went to the convention, the Mecca of Toastmasters. I believe every Toastmaster should do that one day. When I got back, I was so blown away that this made me really lit a fire in me to spread the word of Toastmasters far and wide. As a result, I not only became the first DTM, but I rallied the teams with a clarion call to form a district. Voila, today, District 114 has approximately 2,000 members and many DTMs. Fellow Toastmasters, with all this, I don't have much free time, but when I do, I love to travel and have visited many of your hometowns. I invite you to visit Kenya, where you can savor our delightful coffee, marvel at Mount Kenya, and possibly, and I hope, visit the gift of love, Rozy. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Rozy, tutaenda Muranga, nimekuja Kenya, tutaenda Muranga pamoja na wewe.
Karibu sana, Bwana Brahm.
Thank you. I'm from Kenya, though I live in Canada. I was just telling her in Swahili, when I come to Kenya, we'll all go visit Muranga, her birthplace. Thank you, Rozy, for that wonderful speech. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the time and place where we do a few things differently. Because the speeches are over, we're going to ask for the timer to post the timing report in the chat and for the Zoom master to put up the poll for the best speaker. Now, we never put our guest speaker on the poll, so Matt, please excuse us. You will not be on the poll as a guest speaker. And so please do, ladies and gentlemen, vote for who you think was an effective speaker today. Take into account how they began the speech, how they ended the speech, what lesson did you take away, and all those wonderful things, right? As an evaluator, and begin to vote. So, and as the voting is going on, I will like to introduce to you, I believe it is going to be our general evaluator. Now, however, before she comes on, and hang a second, before she comes on, ladies and gentlemen, especially the guests, we love you. We love to hear your voice. And there's going to be a guest book put in the chat right now once more, especially for those who have come in late. And I would appreciate, in fact, every guest that is here to fill in the guest book and tell us how they felt today. Did they feel welcome? Was this experience good? Is this something that you would like to see in your own clubs? You don't have to join Leadership Speak, but if you've done level 3 and what you've seen is good, put your name in there and say, yes, please contact me, or just say, don't contact me, but here's my comments about the meeting. We'd love to hear from you. So there's the guest book. Thank you, Hannah, so much. Or Leya. Sorry, Leya's posting that. So Leya, thank you so much for posting that. And guests, please do that. Now, we'll move on to another fellow Kenyan, actually, Irene Sadia. She's been looking from space, and that's why you see this spacecraft right over here. She's watching from up above everything that we've been doing and how things are going. And now she's going to tell us how we've done. Mr. Zoom Master, can we have Irene Sadia on the screen, please? Irene, habari yako?
Zuri sana Brahm. Habari yako?
Zuri sana. All we just said was, how are you? And she said she's good, and so on. That's in Swahili. Over to you, Irene, and we'll love to see your take on the meeting. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. This is our moment to hear from our evaluators what they heard from our speakers. I have seen what you've posted in the chat, and you are enthralled, you are excited, and your comments in the chat have added credence to the speaker's delivery. So very first on today, we will call the evaluator for Toastmaster Hannah. The evaluator for Toastmaster Hannah is Youselee. And when I spoke to Youselee and asked her about what she thinks about our theme today, she said, trust for her is like porcelain in human relationships. It embellishes them and must be handled with great care. Once it's lost, it cannot be found as the original. So Youselee, over to you. The virtual stage is yours.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Greeting colleague Toastmasters and guests, and especially Toastmaster Hannah Schmidt, who delivered the toast on the theme today. Congratulations, Toastmaster Hannah Schmidt, for an impactful toast that you delivered, in which you honored the club, the leaders of the club, and all the members. You started by giving your point of view on leadership, and then you continue by making a link between the theme of the meeting and the way that we are in this club. That was brilliant and great. And you emphasize on the success story of the club for these 2 years. You gave a brief story of what this club has already accomplished. You talk about the values that are promoted here, as well as the huge work that led this club to this global positioning regarding Toastmasters International and all the clubs. You invited everyone to open their camera when it was time for the toast and the toast to the theme. And what improvement for the next time, Toastmaster Hannah Schmidt? First one is your Zoom presence. As your camera was a little bit down, seems that you were looking down on the camera. And at some point when you wanted to have more body language, you were looking at the ceiling. Next time you can put something under your laptop or under the material that you are using, so that you can have a better alignment with the camera in your eyes. The second thing is your vocal variety. As you asked me when I talked to you during this week, you asked to be evaluated on your vocal variety. Today you had like a monotonous voice. You keep this during all the presentation. Next time we can add some variation to share in the speech, that at some point you were really excited about the accomplishment of the club. You can vary your voice so that the audience can feel that in your voice. Overall, you had a great presentation, and you were smiling, you were excited, and you were a proud member as well, raising a toast about the club members, the leaders, and all the accomplishment. Congratulations for that, and back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Youselee. I enjoyed the fact that you have very clearly told Hannah what she did well and the improvements, in particularly that when you required her to modulate her voice, you demonstrated that. You lowered your voice and you raised your voice. So I really like that about your evaluation. Our next evaluator will be Vinod Panika, who will be evaluating our past international president. And Vinod, about the theme, says he believes leaders are torchbearers of trust with their words, and actions must be observed carefully by people around them. For him, trust is a must. Vinod, the virtual lectern is yours to evaluate Matt Kinsey. Over to you.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Toastmaster DTM Matt. What I saw today was a philosopher, a psychologist, and a rational thinker giving a speech with courage. You had asked me to focus on your content development and what landed. So let me start with what landed well with me. The phrases that were amazing, I felt, and you can really work on it more because that were really a power punch. Slow and steady doesn't win unless fast gives up. I believe you could have spoken 20 minutes only on this. It came across amazingly and hit me inside. And there were many other things that you said. You should embrace your dark side as leader. I thought I was listening to Carl Jung's disciple who speaks about shadow. That's why I said about a psychologist. The structure of your speech. I know you are a graduate from Bill Go's workshop, and I have heard you many times. But here in the body, what you did was you used a structure called tell me a story, tell a story and make a point. So you had 4 distinct points: slow and steady, there is no I in the team, leaders need to be vulnerable, and go in the lane. So these were your 4 key stories, 4 key points, and you wrapped it up with your stories. That was done in a very nice way and a very simple way. So just you mentioned the point, you mentioned your stand against it. And what I absolutely liked is when you said that there is no I in the team, or the last point when you said a leader can go only up till the, like what you say, no, the case that you were making, what I felt implicitly was, if you can only be doing what your leader is doing, you can only be as good as your leader. So that came out very nice to me. So we need to think in different way was the message of the content that came, I felt was, it came across very well. Now, as a point of development, what I would suggest is, first is using a little bit pause. Because as Toastmasters, we all know pause is a technique. The point comes across in the silence. So you had some very powerful messages. But the way you speak is maybe because you are a native English speaker, there are 8-9 words comes in a single sentence. Tuck, tuck, tuck. So for me, tuck, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3 comes for non-native speakers. So when you speak in a bunch of words, it is very difficult to understand which were the key points and which was not. So I would request to pause a little bit, at least for 3 seconds, and then deliver. The second is the closing. The points were very good. If you could have summarized it and then ended it with a story, it would have been more powerful, because I felt you engaged the audience in the end and then you quickly closed it. And there was a very powerful element of the dark side of the shadow of leadership, which I felt you could have explored a little bit more and the engagement could be less, and then you could have spoken it over there. Third is remove all the fluffs in between. Like, for example, the Moore's law, the chat GPT. I believe that was not adding value to the point, means my purpose is whatever your point is, the story should be directing towards that. So there were a lot of things that were not taking me there. So overall, I feel you are an amazing leader who has great courage to speak all these things. I see a rational thinker who makes a claim and proves it. And I'm looking forward for many such speeches. Thank you very much. And back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Vinod, for that succinct evaluation of our past immediate president, Matt. Our next evaluator will be Jyothi, who will be evaluating our Toastmaster of the day. Jyothi, over to you. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, General Evaluator. Today is a very interesting day for me, especially. Evaluating the Toastmaster of the day, DTM Brahm Memone. Well, very clearly, the Toastmaster of the day brought in leaders build trust beautifully by building credence through clear communication, managing the guests, greeting all those who are there in the role. The Toastmaster was very watchful. Quickly, he nudged when the greeter was saying, and before anybody could be missed, he beautifully brought in their name. And that was prior to the meeting, and that's very, very important. Moving on to something that's very important at Leadership Speak is the presence, the social, the screen, the way your framing is, the presentations. No, there's no way I can comment on that. Bang on. Time and again, there's something coming up special. Well, that's for that. Energy and engagement throughout, you cannot deny that Brahm did an excellent job, especially when DTM Matt Kinsey was presenting. He made sure the theme was well aligned. He highlighted the lessons learned and how he brought in the audience. He had multitasking, definitely watching what was going on in the chat box. Every member was greeted so beautifully, and over again, he kept telling the audience, those who are guests, that we will reach out to you. And that is key for Leadership Speak. Professionalism and credibility. Leadership challenge, when you talk about what we said. And I noticed something very interesting. When you commented about one of the speakers and you said you liked it, you quickly withdrew and you said, don't listen to me. That is very important. You truly, leaders' lives doesn't come there. What I liked was, which was very different today, Brahm, your slide had every speaker's name there. And I said, every time there's something interesting, that is important. As a Toastmaster, time is always a challenge. Coming to personal connection, each person who was introduced, the speaker or the evaluator, be it the language, something personal about them, saying something interesting, kept the energy and the inclusivity and the connect of this club. And I loved that. Yeah, again, time. But considering today being a very special day with a special guest speaker, we can be pushing on that. It was beautifully organized, meticulously planned. And as always, thank you to our president, DTM Kinsey, for being here. So it is a special day. He made sure we brought in 4 speeches rather than 5. That is eye for detail. I don't have too many suggestions. Obviously, it was very good. Thank you very much. And as always, over to you, General Evaluator. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Jyothi, and for the feedback that you've given our Toastmaster of the Day. I will move on to our next evaluator. And our next evaluator is Dan Odero. Dan Odero is currently Area Director for Area M3, District 35. What does Dan believe about building trust? It is by being of service to all whom he meets, by paying attention to their needs and assisting wherever possible. Dan, the stage is yours to evaluate Jessica's speech. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. And what a pleasure it is for me to evaluate Jessica's speech. Very effective. Effective in the opening and the questions which were given with such excitement. Imagine. It's like speaking with a friend as you're imagining something with excitement. And then you went on to talk about the 3 lessons. So imagine 3 thrice and the 3 lessons fit in very well. You told us about what you'll be sharing with us, and you gave precedence to the truth that sometimes things we are excited about may be daunting when we actually get to them. So this is what we saw in your presentation, and then your gestures were very true. As you are telling us the lessons also, clearly embrace the task, and then you came closer. Teamwork is critical, and you came closer. Tell us the gestures, the dramatization, learning patience, a bit of humor also was put in, said you, and you brought in a bit of humor where you talk about the dead woman's point, and then you had a bit of a conversation with the guide. Brilliantly done. I felt like I was sitting in a room listening to you, eating up the story that you were telling us and learning the lessons so well. It was also one of the things that probably you could work on, because your gestures were great at the beginning, starting with very relevant, a little bit much as we went on. So probably what you could consider is tone down on the gestures. Use them as you're talking to, for your words, the lessons learned there. And then rounding off the final lessons impactfully by having more time. So going then into the lessons that you learned, that so that you don't keep it into, and because what happened, I find that you ran a little bit out of time. So we rushed with that at the end, because you used your time pretty well, 7 minutes and 20 seconds. And then also the last quotation finished off decisively. So probably a summary of the lessons, the 3 lessons, and then decisively end with a quote, which was very good. Transformation happens throughout the journey. But well done with the speech, great gestures, great, you could feel the excitement of it, and as you told the lessons, all beautifully done. I enjoyed listening to your speech, and I believe all the people, all the audience who are here also got lessons out of it and enjoyed it also. Well done out with a smooth flow of your presentation. Thank you, Jessica, for honoring us with your speech. And back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Dan Odero, and for that wonderful evaluation to Jessica. The one thing I would add to your evaluation is mentioning her lighting. Her face looked dark, so I could barely see her eyes. And so that's the one thing I would add. But thank you very much, Dan. All right, we want to move on to our next evaluator, who will be evaluating our speaker, Mamadou. And this will be Toastmaster Dr. Aswathy. Aswathy is a former scientist, and she's a national level Young Scientist awardee. He is currently the founder of Success e-Learning. Her Toastmasters journey is so colorful. Charter President of Dynamic Leaders. She served as Area Director, Division Director, and now Club Growth Director for this 2024-2025 year. What does Aswathy say about our theme? That for her, Toastmasters is a place to connect, collaborate, and celebrate each other. Dr. Aswathy, the stage is yours to evaluate our speaker, Mamadou.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to evaluate Toastmaster Mamadou on 3 different aspects: what I heard, what I saw, and what I felt. So starting with what I heard. In the beginning, when he started his speech, I actually heard my mind voice. And believe me, it was not so pleasant. I started my career as a zoologist, became the principal of a school, and then a trainer. But then I heard a voice saying, "You are our hero." Wow. What a great way to start the speech, Toastmaster Mamadou. It was so nice to hear those words. And from then onwards, you captivated the audience. I heard a great story today. Such a beautifully aligned story with the speech theme. You shared an anecdote, your own experience, and the message came across very loud and clear. I love the message from your speech. Be prepared and be a self-directed leader, because it is very important when you are at that point where there is no return, that you are prepared to move ahead or to return back to the starting point. The message was loud and clear. I also heard a very bold voice. Your pace was very good, but I challenge you that next time you can try some voice modulations also, because the story could have had a better impact with that. When you said that I heard a noise in the aircraft, if you would have given a sound effect like boom and then a pause, I think it would have added an impact there. Or when you said that aircraft slowed and it became slower and slower, then the variation in the voice would have had a better impact. Now coming to the next part, what I saw in your speech. Yes, like all the other people here, I did see that warm smile and positive person standing in that virtual platform. But again, I challenge you, if you could have stood up and delivered the whole speech, your hand gestures and body language would have had a better impact in the whole speech. Because I saw that in the beginning, you started your speech with this kind of action and your hand gestures were a little restricted. But when you stand up and try to deliver the speech, then you have a free space, you have the stage where you can move around and show your actions. And especially when you are sharing a story, it just design and it just creates a vivid imaginary for the audience. Now what I felt motivated. I felt stronger because now I know that it is okay to change professions, or it is okay when you are there at that difficult point where there is no return. Most important thing is you have to be prepared. You have to be equipped enough. So now I am prepared to learn new things, upskill myself, upgrade myself, so that if any time in my life I face that moment, I am prepared to move ahead. So with that, I close my evaluation. All the best, Mamadou. Looking forward to hear more speeches from you. Back to you, General Evaluator, Irene.
Thank you, Aswathy, for that wonderful evaluation. I would not have anything else to add. You have captured all the things that I had noted about Mamadou's speech. Moving on to our next evaluator. Our next evaluator is Dr. Bindu, who is a doctor by profession and a Toastmaster by passion. And she will be evaluating Leya Musunga. Dr. Bindu, the stage is yours.
Leya, congratulations. You excel in your space. And how you were effective introducing the Purple Crayon story. You were able to hook the audience. In fact, we all was glued to your speech, finding out why this Purple Crayon and your later concepts. Wow, what a great introduction. You were able to engage the audience by asking a question that, how many of you remember that first day in the Toastmaster? Again, it really awakened us from the slumber. The concept that you introduced with that purple crayon is vision, and that you exemplified by giving some humor into it, by telling that In Toastmaster, we all have to do it in a self-paced manner. And unfortunately, if you don't do it, then who else will? That was a great humor into it. And then you were able to connect your audience takeaway. What does the audience take away? You brought the great Steve Jobs quote that if you have a strong vision, that itself will pull you. No need for anyone to push you. Wow, what a great final takeaway for the audience. And you were able to bring your title, that is a purple crayon, finally when giving the audience takeaway too. So that way we were able to remember your speech better. Whenever we see purple crayon, yeah, good. What you can build on this, I'm sure that you're a great speaker. I wanted it to be better. How can you do that? By Zoom presence. I think you were not looking at the lens, you were looking down as if you're reading something. Second, Leya, your pathway is innovative planning. And what could you innovate in here? See, your vision by telling that purple crown denotes vision is really an innovation. What more can you innovate? You were telling as a leader, you became an area director, then you're a division director and logistics. Now, during each step, what was your vision? What was your planning? How could you reach this journey? It's a tremendous pathway. If you could instill some more widen with a vivid imagination and explanation about that, wow, it would be more. Telling that this purple crayon is just a vision, and the planning and the mindset behind that is the hand and the person. See, that's a real connection, is it not? To summarize a great speech, if you could incorporate your Zoom presence as well as this innovation, it could become more awesome. Looking forward to more speeches. Leya, over to you.
Thank you very much, Bindu, for that wonderful evaluation. And I liked how you started with what she worked on well and what she could improve on, and you tied it up neatly. Thank you very much. Our next evaluator is a 17-year-old Toastmaster, a DTM, a past District 86 governor. What does he say to our theme? He believes that leadership starts with trust and everything else follows. It is like being in a passenger on a train, and trust is the locomotive. Without trust, the leadership train does not move. This is Tony Brashitt, and he will be evaluating our speaker, Rozy Rana. Tony, the stage is yours.
Wow, thank you very much for that, GE. Hi, Toastmasters and Rozy. Hello to you. Rozy, when you and I communicated, I asked you what the purpose of your presentation was going to be. And you made it actually very easy for me. You pointed out some points. You wanted to be engaging, interesting, humorous, and yet this being another icebreaker, you wanted to add more perspective to your other icebreakers. So those 4 points that you worked on actually made it relevant to all of us, including myself. Now, as far as humorous, you talked about, you didn't quite say it, but you talked about being the 4th child out of 3. So, 4th child out of 3. Your parents wanted 3, you were the 4th child out of 3, which was great because more children's more prosperity. Your humor was interspersed with wonderful pieces of good advice, such as when you were learning the business and being informed with the news so you could be relevant to form judgment. Good piece of advice to us, to always be on top of things. The humor part, I think, really added to the story, because you told us a story as if it was a storybook. You went from one stage to the next to the next. It was like flipping a page, and each page had a nice picture, and people like pictures. So we pictured a mountain where the village you were born in. Then we pictured how you were growing up and in your parents, in your father's business. Then how you went to school. You went to the city where you talked about how excitement turned into anxiety. And then you talked about, you put nice things in there, Rozy, about leadership lies. So very relevant to the theme of our speech. You said something important. You talked about how the best years of a woman's life is between 39 and 40. You know, when you asked, are you guessing my age? You read my mind. So you're obviously between 39 and 40 years old. And you're a weirdo looking forward towards Mondays. So a very good story, told in a storybook fashion, very picturesque. You talked about clothing and things. My imagination was following your story. You spoke very clearly, very graphically. A suggestion, and Rozy, this is a minor suggestion. You obviously spoke with passion. And I believe a lot of the leadership experts will tell us that the difference between being average and being excellent is passion. And you spoke with passion. You are excellent. Perhaps, as an idea, you could challenge us, each one of us, to find our passion, because you have shown us that the gift of love is your passion. And in summary, your 4 points of engagement, interest, humor did bring a perspective, a fresh perspective. And to me, it's how you made me feel. And I'm going to tell you how you made me feel. You made me feel that the best years of a man's life is between 69 and 70 years old, because that's where I'm at right now, and I'm feeling mighty fine. Thank you for your gift of love. Thank you for your story. Well done. Thanks again, Rozy.
Thank you very much, Tony. And for that evaluation to Rozy, how she made you feel, and that's the best years of your life are just between 69 and 70. This particular meeting was started well, and I have enjoyed everything. Everything started on time, and now at this point, I want to hand over back to the Toastmaster of the day. Back to you, Brahm.
Madam G, it's not handing back to me yet. If you follow the agenda, please call the timer, the grammarian, and then call me as the trainer, not as the president, even though I'm the president. So back to you, Madam G, and then just follow the agenda if you may. That'd be good, right? Thank you. So you call the timer and the grammarian as per the agenda.
Okay.
All right.
Allow
Thank
me
you.
to find just finding my agenda. All right. I had opened it. Seems like I've closed it.
Not a problem. Let me help you. You should call the grammarian next. Go ahead. Call the grammarian.
All right.
All right. No problem.
All right. At this point, we'd like to call the grammarian.
Hello, everyone. With so much of accident speakers available today, I was very much knowing that we will be flooded with very good phrases, very good words, quotes, and it was proven absolutely right. Number of words, a lot of words which really touched me. Most probably all of you must have got touched with those words. And there are very few in the very beginning by immediate past president, Kinsey, limiting your team will what you can do. You are limiting your team, which you can do. The other one, staying in your lane creates opportunities. There's no I in the team. And of course, already evaluator Vinod Panikkar has said slow and steady wins the race unless the fastest drops down. With Jessica, she has a wonderful word. She spoke a lot of good words and good phrases. Number one, embrace the endurance, embrace the client. Teamwork is crucial. Rushing is not an option. Transformation happens throughout the journey. The next speaker, Mamadou, you are our hero. If you are not prepared, you have to repair. Leya Musunga talked about the quote by Steve. If you are working on something that you are really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. TM Rozy, gift of love. Fertile land, heavenly brew, prized possession. Toastmaster Vinod Panikkar spoke about rational thinker. Of course, he spoke about slow and steady wins the race. And Toastmaster Jyothi, inclusivity. These are some of the words which really touched me. And there are only two things which could have been said in a little different way. I could find, because everybody spoke so well. It was on the base of the mountain, could be mountain base. And the other one was seeing her, watching her present her speech, could have been a small single line, watching my friend presenting her speech. These were small things which can be used. And for the word of the day, Credence, we have 3 times the Credence was spoken, and all of the 3 are winners: Brahm, Rozy, and Leya. Thank you very much. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Grammarian Paramjit. At this point, I will ask our timer, Terence, to post the timings in the chat. And as Terence does that, I will invite our trainer, Brahm, to present his at this session. Over to you, Brahm.
Madam G, repose.
Yeah, launch the polls while I do that, so that we can shorten the time a bit here. Baron, thank you, Baron. Please go ahead and launch the polls and spotlight me as well. Thank you, Madam G, and I'll return it back to you as soon as I've done my training part. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have this training part that I do here just to make sure that we are taking our evaluations and our speeches to the next level, at which, I mean, as an advanced club, this is where we need to be. We are doing pretty well, of course, but there's, as you know, I'm always about mastery and competency and unfolding competency at the next level. Most of our guests do appreciate what we do here as an advanced club. But here are a few things that we possibly could be looking at, right, in our evaluations and in our speaking. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is just becoming a bit more self-aware of how we affect the meetings through our speaking and evaluations. Here are a few things. The audience is always key. In any speech, in any evaluation, in anything that we do and speak, it is always about the audience. As an advanced club, we need to think about how is it affecting the audience. So all presentations are about the audience because they don't want to waste their time listening to you unless they have a takeaway or something that they had that aha moment, whether they were informed, they were inspired, they were motivated, they were persuaded about something, or a brand new information was presented to them, and so on. It's always about the audience. Doesn't matter what sort of speech it is at an advanced level. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, how the presentation is structured is what we need to focus on. And always when we are structuring a presentation, we should focus on what is the conclusion, the call to action. What is the audience going to take away from this? is the first thing that we need to have in our mind as we are structuring our presentation. And of course, therefore, what is the title going to be? What's the opening going to be? How am I going to sort of get attention of the audience? And how am I going to construct the whole thing into the conclusion, which is what an evaluator would be looking at, and making their statements based on such at an advanced club. We are doing well. We could do a bit better in certain respects, and so on. What we are going to do is, like I've reported in the past couple of weeks, we put together some information and learning tools for our speakers and evaluators if they wish to pursue that, if they want to become better speakers and they want to become better evaluators, so that they can take their key learnings into the real world immediately and use them in the real world immediately. All right. So one of the things, of course, I missed was, did the presentation inspire, motivate, persuade, and entertain is what an evaluator should be looking at. What did it do? All right. And so, ladies and gentlemen, my take on our evaluation, I'll just pick a couple of them, is, for example, Leya Musunga, right? Classically, the purple crayon. Now, you would have thought, the purple crayon, how is this speech going to end? When she had about the vision and the vision really trying to push you and forward, and the Steve Jobs quote and all that, how is she going to end? And it was very cleverly ended by bringing back the crayon. And she said, like Harold in the book and the crayon, and she actually did bring it back, even though, you say purple crayon and now it's all about vision, but she actually connected the whole thing, and it was an audience takeaway and very well told. Superb mastery in the presentation. I was like carried away, like, wow, amazing. So that was beautifully done. As for Vinod's remarks about our past international president, DTM Kinsey, quite right. I mean, you have to bear in mind that DTM Kinsey is really in the preliminary stages of crafting this into a 40-minute to an hour presentation, and this is just his first taking a slice of 20 minutes. Hence, it had a few elements missing, which is understandable. We all Toastmasters, and I do the same when I'm experimenting on new. When I present here, as you know, I slip up quite a bit as well first, and then I do several takes, and then it becomes what it becomes. So that is perfectly great. Well said, Vinod, that you gave some great feedback there. As well, I just want to mention Tony Breshett, that his evaluation was like way out out in the field, like great enthusiasm, very well presented, and so on. For Dan Odero, I think you're a highly creative human being, and highly creative human beings, I am one, that's why I recognize it, is that sometimes where our thoughts get so muddled up into a lot of things, and we don't know what to say first. So, and this is a process for you, Dan, and for most evaluators who are very creative, like me and Dan, is to really see, okay, first let me talk about the content, now, and let me talk about the delivery, and then, of course, the language, and then tie it all up into the evaluation at the end, is to summarize it well. I find it difficult when I have very little time to think and do that. And over the years, it still is a practice for me, being a highly creative person, to be able to put that into sequence properly. As you can see right now, perhaps it's not quite in sequence that I've intended to. So bearing in mind that we all have different talents, different ways of doing things, we will provide you these tools going forward to make sure that, you are well prepared, you are doing your evaluations and your speeches and presentations at a better level, so that you become more professional out in the real world, which is why we are here. Having said that, I will pass it on to our GE for her final remarks. Back to you, Irene.
Thank you very much, Trainer Brahm. Today's meeting, I hope you have learned. I hope you have been inspired. I hope that you have had fun. You've had the humor. I hope you have seen, you have heard, you have felt in a way that will make you a better leader, a leader who his or her team members will trust. I hope that this meeting has been delivered at a level that will make you want to come back again and again and again. So thank you so much. and I will hand it back to the Toastmaster of the day. Back to you. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam G. And I'll now take over as the Toastmaster of the day. And now we have the thought of the day with Ray Rivero. Ray, over to you.
Thank you very much, Brahm. What can I say about this thought of the day with so much information to glean? I was given 1 to 2 minutes. Don't be surprised if I go just a little over. But I'll open up with a small saying. You heard of talk the talk, but what I heard today was we walk the walk. So let me add a little credence to what we said today. Brahm opened up by setting up the theme. He welcomed and engaged the guest. The very first part of the moment of truth that we all read about, but seldom do. And he explained a little bit how trust affects the team and a code of conduct. I thought that when I was trying to put it together, the thought of the day, how can I put it all together before I saw the meeting? But it's like a table topic, but it's only one topic, the theme. 3 to 4 pages later, I'm now trying to glean a summary. I enjoyed Hannah's toast, the outcome of confidence, one of the aspects of leadership. I enjoyed the core values, and I enjoyed the speakers embracing the challenge, the crucial, the teamwork. The important thing is that we follow as Toastmasters our core values of respect, integrity, service, and excellence. It may not be the order that you learned it, but we rise to the occasion as leaders. So much information, so I'm going to conclude by gleaming a little bit of what Matt Kinsey said about the team. There's no I in team, but individuals contribute. But if we spell out team in capital letters, T-E-A-M, I notice that those letters are straight lines. So I challenge each and every one of you as leaders, take your team of individuals with that straight line of I's and spell out the team for each and every one of them to form together. So talk the talk, walk the walk, respect, integrity, service, and excellence, and let's build the trust together as a team to rise to the occasion. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ray. And now, before we go on to our dear guests once more, I will ask our Zoom master to launch the poll. No, not to launch, but to launch the certificates of the best effective speaker and the most effective evaluator. So if you can launch those, that'd be great. Mr. Zoom master, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm having a little trouble, taking a bit longer. I can share it in the chat.
Please share it in the chat for us. Thank you very much. And we'll move ahead and then we'll announce it when we see it in the chat. All right, dear guests. Come around to the fireplace with me and let's have a small chat. And let's see how we've done your comments. So, of course, our first guest that I would like to have here is our past international president, Matt Kinsey. Hopefully we were warm and congenial and did a warm welcome for you. Putting words in your mouth, Matt, there. But please, your comments.
Thank you so much, Brahm. I'm always impressed with how well you organize things. And this was well organized. You kept up today with me. Very welcome. It was good to see some people I hadn't seen in a while, including Sandra Lutchman from Trinidad, who I hadn't seen since 2016 was the last time I saw Sandra.
Thank you. And of course, we always ask our guests if they want to join our club. Matt.
I am fully booked on clubs right now, and I would not be able to commit additional time to your club, and I would not want to join just to say
Thank
I'm a
you.
member.
Thank you, Matt. Absolutely. Our next guest that I can see on my screen is Leslie Broadbelt. Leslie, are you there? So I'll ask all the guests, please put on your camera so that we can chat with you. And I can see Lona Fink from Florida, who is actually met her in Caribbean, which is a member there as well. Lona, what do you think of the meeting? Did you have any takeaways?
Brahm, I have to tell you, I saw you last Wednesday night at the Innovators Advanced Toastmasters Club as our guest general evaluator, and I was completely amazed at everything you did. So thank you very much for coming. And I loved just watching this elevated state. I know all of us in our regular clubs definitely can learn from this club, and I'm excited. I want to definitely get that YouTube link and potentially even share it to showcase how these evaluations can really be effective for our speakers. Sometimes in the club, we all get so caught up in doing the sandwich method, right? And that's a very hard thing to do, especially when you're trying to be the best you can be and excel it with everything. That's really what I learned today, was the amazing evaluations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lona. And would you like to be a member at Leadership Speak?
Like Matt, I have quite a few. I already have 3 clubs, so I will definitely connect though, because I think it's an amazing group of people. I just have to make sure I have the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for visiting us. And please do visit us as many times as you like. We have no limitations on the number of visits you can have. So please do come and visit us as often as you can and learn as much as you can and transfer it to your clubs.
Thank you very much. I will.
Thank you. Our next guest that I can see here on my screen is, oh, it's moving very quickly, the screen here. Claudette Morris. Noja Barnwell, Patience Alaso, any of you? Oh, I see Oris Martin. Hi, Oris, you got your camera on. That's very good. Oris Martin. And Mr. Zoom Master, if you can please spotlight the guest when I'm talking to them, that'll be great. Thank you. Oris?
Hello, everyone. Greetings, South Florida. I know Lorna pretty well. We are members of the same club. And she and I are division directors in District 47. And
Awesome.
when she told me about this, especially the fact that our past international director was going to be speaking, I thought I couldn't miss this. So that's why I'm here this morning. It was a very interesting meeting. The speeches, I mean, they were so varied, but every one of them was very engaging. And the evaluations, I thought the evaluations were spot on, and we could all learn something from them, something to take back to our clubs. So no, I know what you're going to ask me. I am over my head this year, so I cannot commit to taking anything additional on, but I would love to visit you in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely. We would love to have you in the future. And we always say, if you're a member of more than 2 clubs, joining Leadership Speak is really a steep learning. It's very steep, extremely steep learning. So, of course, you don't want to overstretch and overbear yourself. Definitely, of course. And we discourage people who are members of many clubs to join Leadership Speak as well and take on something else, because they won't be effective. Absolutely. But when you're ready, and please come and visit us and take as many notes as you can. I can come and speak at your club if you want any help. Please, I speak at a lot of clubs, so if you want to invite me, I'm willing to come and speak, or be the GE even, or an evaluator or speaker, whatever it is. Thank you, Oris, for being here. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Moving along to our next guest. Now we got a lot of guests, so of course I will not be touching on all the guests here. But let me see if there's any other guests that have their videos on that we can talk to. And also, if not, actually, I would like to also speak to Nikita Winkler, who has had sort of taken a leave of absence and she's back. Is Nikita here, or did she leave the meeting?
She left just a few minutes ago.
All right. All right. She is thinking of becoming a member. I mean, reinstating a member. She had some personal business to take care of, and she's back. All right. Since we don't see any more videos coming on, I would like to ask Sandra Lutchman. Of course, she had invited me to go there on Wednesday to her club to provide, as a GE, some evaluations. Sandra, are you there?
I am here, but I can't turn on my video, unfortunately. But you were amazing. We got such great reports from everyone. This has really taken our club up to another level, and we really would like to have you back another time, or have some persons from your club, because they all do such amazing evaluations, so that we can bring our club up to the level of this club. Now, I know this club is tops in the world and all that sort of thing, but, you know, we set our standards high. So we would like to invite you another time so you can help bring us up. Really amazing. And there are a few persons from my club here. So we all here to learn. Much appreciated. Great meeting. And it was wonderful to see Matt Kinsey, past international president. Good to see you after all these years. Virtually, but still, it was really good. Great to see you.
Thank you, Sandra. And would you like to be a member at Leadership Speak?
We talk, yes.
Okay. Hopefully you fill in the guest book, and Leya Musunga will get in touch with you. Leya?
Sure.
All right, wonderful. All right. I don't see any other videos on. We got a number of guests here, but they have turned the videos off, or at least put up your hand so I can talk to you. Noja Barnwell, Claude Morris, Marlene Marilyn, Gang J. Barongwai, Sonia Morel. Any of you around? Give me a shout. If not, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the meeting. Our best effective speaker is Rozy Rana, and the most effective or best evaluator, Aswathy Rajan. Congratulations. Thank you very much for doing a great job. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, please switch off the recording, and this meeting is adjourned. And now we can just hang out and have a conversation with each other. So please, could you